And welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us here again at Build Stuff 2021 on the Saturn stage. We have an amazing talk coming up talking about accessibility, which, although I'm not good enough at it, is a personal thing that I really think we should all get far more into. And on that note, I would like to welcome to the stage Eeva, Jonna, Panula. And I really hope that I did your name a little bit of justice there.
Thanks, you did really good.
Welcome. And where are you joining us from today?
I'm actually joining from Finland.
Awesome. Some beautiful scenery there. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time before your talk. I just want to listen to the awesome stuff that you've got to say. So I'm going to say over to you and I'll speak to you at the end.
All right. Thank you. So yeah, hi, everyone. You know, we as developers, we often develop for users who are like ourselves. That often means sighted mouse users who have good fine motor skills and who could be maybe described as power users. But not everybody is like that. Not everybody can see. Not everybody can use or don't use mouse for navigating. And not everybody has good fine motor skills, and definitely not everybody can be described as a power user. So it's our responsibility as developers to keep in mind users that aren't like ourselves as well. And today I will be giving some checks that I think we all who are developing, especially front-end side, should do while developing so that we can ensure that our sites are at least a bit more accessible. I'm not promising that when you do everything that I'm talking about in this talk, that your site would be 100% accessible, but these are for catching these issues that could be also called as low-hanging fruits when it comes to accessibility. So that would be already like really good thing. So my name is Eeva Panula, and I'm accessibility specialist and senior software developer at Oura, so the Ring company. And as mentioned, I'm from Finland. And I love to share what I've learned. So that's why I'm talking here to you. And I also like talking conferences, meetups, and I write a blog. And while not doing like coding related stuff, I could say, or accessibility related stuff, I play Ultimate Frisbee and explore the world around, especially nature around here in Finland. By foot and kayak. So yeah, and yeah, I maybe want to mention that I'm like mostly when I'm doing software development, I'm mostly working with the like front end side of things. All right, give me a second. It's getting hot. I'm gonna throw my hoodie away. So yeah, today we are talking about about automated accessibility testing. I'm not going to go too deeply into that, but I want to mention it. And then the rest of the talk, I'm going to share some checks for making the sites a bit more accessible. So yeah. About automated accessibility testing. When I talk about automated testing, or automated accessibility testing, I mean all those tools that basically take a bunch of code, go through it, and then find issues from that code. And good examples of this kind of tools are linters or test integrations, or for example, browser extensions. And I come from the world where I work mostly with React and TypeScript. So the examples of those tools that I'm going to give you in a second come from that world. They might overlap with other front-end technologies as well, but like I can just say that like I know at least they work with React. So yeah, there are linters or linter extensions, I could say. So for example, for ESLint, there is this, I think it's JSX Ally or React JSX Ally or something like that. I don't remember exactly how it's called, but like linter plugin or extension. And then for testing, there is library that's, or open source library that's called Xcore, and it's developed by DQ, and there are test integrations built on top of that. So Xcore is it's a tool for like finding, or library for finding accessibility issues from the code that it takes in. And there are integrations built on top of that, at least for Jest and Cypress, that I know I've been using those. And then there are these browser extensions. So X has also, like Xcore has been used to develop this X browser extension. And also there is a browser extension called Wave, which is from WebAIM. So these browser extensions, they are really good for more visual approach, because you can basically highlight issues on the page when you are like using those browser extensions. And because these test integrations, they give basically like textual output, but with these browser extensions, you can like, for example, if there is a problem with image element, you can highlight that and see where that exact image element is. Yeah, and as mentioned, these automated tools, they take a bunch of code and then go through it and try to find issues from there. And they are really good in finding problems that have either yes or no answers. So this means, for example, because image element should always have alt attribute. The contents of it, they depend on the situation, but like the image tag should always have alt attribute. And these tools are really good for checking if there is, like in the code, if there is image tag and if it has alt attribute. But they are not really good in checking the contents of that alt attribute. So they don't really know if the image is a logo, or if it's a like picture that is used just for decoration, so decorative image, or if it's something that has much like information that should be communicated to a user who can't actually see the image. So they are not good with meaning. And actually, these, like, depending on study, these automated testing tools, they catch only about from 15 to 40 or 50% of accessibility failures on the websites. And that's not much. Even if we take the best number, so 50%, that means that we can find only like half of the accessibility issues on the sites with automated testing. So that's why we need to test manually too. And that's why we are moving to the checks I mentioned I'm going to share. I'm going to show these like tips or checks, and then I'm going to demonstrate how like what problems there are. And yeah, sorry, I lost the thought there for a moment. But yeah, okay, let's start with the first one. First one is to test your site with only a keyboard. So no mouse. Try to navigate through your site or app with only keyboard. And this happens with tab or shift and tab. So when you want to go forward from focusable element to another, then you use tab. And when you want to go back, it's shift and tab. If you are a Mac user, one word here, for some reason, for keyboard navigation, you actually need to enable that keyboard navigation from the settings. And also, especially if you use Safari on Mac, then like you need to enable those settings from Safari's preferences as well. And like if you want to know how to do that, I suggest to like go to your favorite search engine, something like Mac keyboard navigation. Then you should be able to find to Apple's site where they explain how to turn this on. But yeah, that's something that I always want to remember to mention, because it's really confusing when you start testing your site with keyboard and it doesn't work at all, even though it should. But yeah, all right. When you are like navigating to your site and you encounter something that's interactive, like a link or button or a checkbox or radio button or like whatever, like an element that should be or is usable with mouse. So like when user clicks that element with a mouse, something happens. Then try to interact with that element with your keyboard. If that element is a button, you should be able to activate it with either space or enter. If it's a link, then it should be able, like you should be able to activate it with enter. If it's a checkbox, then you should be able to like toggle the state with spacebar. And if it's, for example, radio button group, you would tap in to that group. So when you like use your tab key, then you should be able to focus to either the selected item or the first item, and then change the selection with arrow keys. So yeah, here's a like short introduction to keyboard navigation. And now I'm going to demonstrate a couple of problems that I often find when I either test or just navigate with keyboard, because I like to do that because I think it's faster. So yeah, I'm gonna focus to this link, which says I am a visible link. So here's like around the link, there is a focus indicator, which is a pink rectangle. And I've enhanced it, so it's not the like the you could say native focus of the browser, but it's enhanced focus indicator, so that like it's visible where we are. And this one is here just for like that I can tell about this focus indicator. And two things I'm going to talk about when it comes to keyboard navigation is disappearing focus and unusable controls. These are two really big problems with keyboard navigation. I'm gonna tap to the show list checkbox, and next there is a like on the view you can see button that says I am also visible. And now that I start or like tab, that's the next place where the focus should land, actually, because I'm in the like the checkbox just right before it. So let's test. Okay, I press tab. We are lost. The focus disappeared. I'm gonna try again. Nothing. Nope. Oh, here we are. We are back. We are now focused in the I am also visible button. So what happened? Well, let me show you. I'm going to get back to the show list and I'm going to toggle it. And now there is 3 links visible, saying first item, second item, third item. And if you noticed, there was like 3 stops that like when I was pressing the tab when we were missing, and they were these 3 items. So we went through them when I was trying to navigate here. And why this happened? Well, the reason is because I had hidden these items with just placing them out of the view. So I wasn't using anything like display none with CSS, or I wasn't removing them actually from the DOM. I was just like shifting them away from where they were or where they are. And this is fairly common pattern with, for example, menus. So I see it often with navigation menus that like content is hidden only from like sighted people, but still like it's in the tab order. Like all these items are in the tab order. So you would need to either use the display none property or remove them completely from the DOM to inclusively hide that list, for example, or like list of links. So yeah, all right, let's continue. Then the next element on my page is a link that says I have no focus indicator. And after that, there's a link that says, but I have. And I would imagine that the focus would next go to the I have no focus indicator link, and then to the but I have. So let's test. Okay, we are lost again. I'm gonna try again. And here we are, but I have has a, well, focus indicator. And as you might have guessed, the reason for a moment of confusion here was that this link that says I have no focus indicator doesn't have any focus indicator. And that's true. I've hidden it with CSS property outline set to none, which is also something that fairly often happens on the internet, and I'm really sad about it. And I've even had some conversations with designers saying that, yeah, but like we are going to remove that ugly focus indicator ring thing, outline thing from there, because it's like, I want to repeat, it's ugly. I'd really like to say in those conversations that you're the designer, make it beautiful, make it like, you have the power. But yeah. But it's really problematic if we remove the focus indicator. Because, you know, people who navigate using only keyboard, they rely on that focus indicator to know where they are on the page. So if it's hidden, it's really confusing. And like, it might mean that they just leave your site. And that's, I would imagine that's not a good thing. So if you remember 2 things from this talk, one of them is that never remove the focus indicator with something like outline none or outline 0. Only exception for this is when you are making the like focus indicator that's even more visible with something like box shadow or other ways to like indicate the focus or like the place where the user is at that point. All right. And then another thing I wanted to talk about was unusable controls. Here is a button that says click me. I realized that I can't demonstrate what it does because when I click it, it shows an alert, and that alert actually doesn't get shared through screen sharing. So you just have to trust me that that happens. But like, it works with a click. Now I'm going to try to use it with the keyboard. So I'm still at the but I have link. And the next place I would imagine that the focus goes is that click me button. And after that to I'm here just for the show link. Let's try. Okay, it went straight to the I'm here just for the show link. It looks like that click me button is not on the tab order at all because, or it's somewhere else than where it's visually. well, I can tell that it's not in the tab order because it's not a button. It's a div that has on-click handler and no role of button, no tab index, no keyboard event listeners. So it works only for mouse users, sighted mouse users. And that's also something that I come across with fairly often on the internet, unfortunately. Because if you make a button out of div and don't remember to add many things that we are going to talk about in just a second, it means that it's like really exclusive button. It excludes users who aren't sighted and who aren't using a mouse. Okay, if you add role button, then screen reader users would know that there actually is a button, because like without that, they have no idea that such a thing exists. Then you need to add that tab index 0 so that it gets added to the tab order, so that it like user can tap into it. And then you actually need to remember to add those keyboard event listeners for space and enter, so that people can actually use it with keyboard. And that's already a lot. It makes code harder to maintain. And you know, we already have this semantic element button, which already gives everything, I could say, for free. Because when you have this semantic element button and you define on-click handler for it, then it already works for keyboard users, and it already has the role button and it's in the tab order. So you don't need to do anything else for that. So yeah. And the other thing that I hope you remember from this talk is to never make a button out of a div, or like use the semantic elements, because they are like, they provide so much for free. And also like and especially in like when talking about accessibility. So yeah, all right. Then another thing to check is to check the page language. And why is this important? Well, screen readers, they use that information, like the page language information, to read out the contents of the page. And page language, like with page language, I mean that lang attribute that's added to the HTML tag. And if it's the same as the content of the page, everything's fine. It like the content gets like screen readers read it in the correct language. But if they have a mismatch, then like the result can be frustrating or funny or something like between those. And I'm gonna show you a like demo of that in a bit. But now you might think that how do you check it? Well, I would say that the easiest way to check this is to open your developer tools and check the, like, at least in Chrome, it's there's this elements tab where you can see the whole outline of your HTML document. And there you can see this HTML tag or element where you can check that, well, there is that lang attribute and that it's correct. So if your page is in English, then it should be EN. If it's in Finnish, it should be FI, and so forth. And okay, you might now wonder that, okay, like my page is mostly in English, but what about those parts that are in French there? What should I do with them? Well, I have good news. You can actually add that lang attribute to for example, paragraphs or divs or spans or anchors or like many elements, so that like screen readers know that that part of the text should be read in different language. So you can annotate the like French text with the lang FR, and screen readers know how to do that. All right. Next, I'm gonna show you a video where there is the first couple of paragraphs from the novel Anna Karenina by Lev Tolstoy, and they are in English, and they are wrapped in paragraphs that have the language attribute set to Finnish. So you're gonna hear how funny it sounds, or I at least hope, because I hope that the video comes through. So I'm gonna play it.
Heading level 2, page language. You are currently on a heading level 2. Next paragraphs has a lang equals phi set. It is the start of the novel Anna Karenina by Lev Tolstoy. You are currently on a text element.
Happy family Saralla alike, every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way.
You are currently on a text element.
Everything was in confusion in Oblonsky's house. The wife had discovered that the husband was carrying on an intrigue with a French girl, who had been a governess in their family, and she had announced to her husband that she could not go on living in the same house with him. This position of affairs had now lasted 3 days, and not only the husband and wife themselves, but all the members of their family and household were painfully conscious of it.
You are currently.
Oh yeah. I hope that you could hear it. If you didn't, then I'm going to share a blog post later on the talk, and the same video is there, so you can go and watch it there. Or if you want to hear it again, that's also an option. But yeah, for a native Finnish speaker who has read Anna Karenina a couple of times or even more, I can say that I could understand what was going on, but I don't know how it is for others who don't speak Finnish, for example. But as you can hear, it's not quite right when the language is not right. So that's why I really recommend checking the page language. All right. Then next check I'm gonna say present is to check if color alone is used, because we tend to communicate lots of things with only color on websites, and that's a problem for multiple reasons. Well, first of all, there are people who don't see the color the same way as you see them, because, for example, oh, cool. I'm gonna move that way. So yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, there are people who are colorblind, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but like there, at least I know many colorblind people. Then there is this thing that different screens show color a bit differently. So like I've had this problem in the past that designers have had these cool, great, really good like screens, and they're designing things with color, and I can say those designs, they look really awesome on their screens. And then somebody opens it with their not so good screen, and then color change. So like if we use color for communicating things, and especially if we use like shades that are really close to each other, it's possible that the information is not available anymore. And then there's this thing that different cultures see colors differently, or like understand colors differently. For example, in Finland, red, I would say it's a like bad thing, or like it symbolizes bad things, or something is not good. But there are cultures that see red as a really good thing. So that's also a problem when it comes to color. And I'm also gonna demonstrate one thing here with the table I'm showing. So I have a table which has a collection of courses from my first degree and how I felt about them. So my first degree is Russian language and culture. That's also one reason why I have read Anna Karenina so many times. And I like the book. I really recommend reading it. But so yeah, here is some courses from my first degree. And then how I felt about the course is communicated with only color. And I'm going to go through them quickly. So I had Russian history and culture, and I've set it as red. It was really interesting, but we had a teacher or like our professor was, well, she thought that we as the first year students of the university would know so much about Russian history, like starting from the days of Kievan Rus, which is like ancient history. And, you know, in Finnish schools, they don't really teach Russian history that long. They don't teach Russian history that much, actually. So like it was really stressful because the professor was expecting so much from us. So that's why it's red. Then Russian grammar and literature, I like them. Then translations from Russian to Finnish, that was okay. Like it wasn't bad, it wasn't good, it was okay. And then theory of phonetics, it was just boring. So that's why it's red. And now I'm gonna, okay, I'm gonna, just a sec. I'm gonna open my developer tools. I'm gonna actually do this again. So I will open more, like here at the top right corner, there is this customize and control dev tools. And then there is more tools. And then I will go to rendering, which opens here. And rendering is a like part where you can emulate lots of things. And I'm gonna use that for this demonstration. So I'm gonna scroll down, and here is this emulate vision deficiencies. And I'm gonna emulate achromatopsia, which is a form of color blindness, which means that you don't see any color at all. So life is pretty much grayscale. And now that the page turned grayscale, we can see some problems with the colors. So now that we look at the colors, I would say that like the scale is a bit different. Like the red is still the most intense color, but then the what used to be yellow, that's the lightest color. So if I was looking at this, I would think that, okay, like at one end, there are Russian history and culture and phonetics, and then on the other end, translation from Russian to Finnish. So that wasn't the original meaning there. So here's a like demonstration why, and actually also how to check like the page on grayscale to see if color alone is used to communicate meaning. All right. Another tool to use is Microsoft's Accessibility Insights browser extension. It has many tools for checking accessibility things, and it also has this like you can turn the page grayscale. So it's like really good tool as well. All right, the next thing I'm gonna go over is to check the ability to zoom on mobile. For this, you're gonna need a like actual mobile device. You need to open your site on that mobile device and then try pinch and zooming. I would do it with my fingers, but if you are a person who can't do it with your fingers, I think you might know how to accomplish that with your assistive technology. So do it with the ways you know how to do. If you can, like, when you do this pinch and zoom thing, if you can zoom in, great, everything works as expected. But if the page doesn't zoom in, then there's a problem. And why, you might ask? Well, there are people who rely on zooming on both, like desktop, but also on mobile. Because, you know, mobile devices, they are so small, you need to sometimes zoom in. Then there are people like me who, when they see a like group photo where they are, they need to zoom in to see how they look in that photo. So that's why it's also good to be able to zoom in. And then there is this thing. Sometimes page layouts get broken, and that site is usable only with zooming. So you need to zoom in to be able to use that site. Yes, that's something that developers should fix, but as we all know, it doesn't usually happen right in that moment when somebody notices it. So it takes time. So before that bug gets fixed, there should be a way to use the site still. So yeah. And yeah, one note about this still. So why some sites don't zoom in is they're used this responsive design thing used to say that when you have mobile design, it should not be zoomable. So that's still alive and well in the internet, unfortunately. And technically, if I see a page that doesn't zoom, the first place I'm looking in is the meta tag viewport. If it's either user scalable no, or the min scale and max scale have been set to 1 both, then these are the usual suspects for this. All right. Then I think this is the last check I'm going to share. So check for captions and transcripts. Captions and transcripts are the only way that people who can't hear, so for example, deaf or hard of hearing or deafblind, can actually consume video or audio only content. Captions, they are to define them, think subtitles, but with more information on them. So they have, for example, these all the meaningful audio that's happening on the video. So if there's a loud bang happening, then it's captions have that. And also if there's somebody who's off screen speaking, then that person is identified as well. And then transcripts, they are they have the same idea, but they are basically a written version of the content, either video or audio. So if you have a podcast, then it should have transcript, and there should be all the meaningful sound that's in that audio. So everything that somebody is speaking, but also if there are some music or other meaningful things happening there. And yeah, so to check for this step, I would say just go over, if you have any video content, check that they have captions and transcripts. And if you have only audio only content, check that they have transcripts as well. And now you might think, why transcripts for video if they already have these captions? Well, deafblind people, they can't really see those captions, so they use, for example, screen readers that convert text to Braille, and then they read from Braille, which is a tactile writing, if to put it really simple. So yeah. All right. So thank you for listening. I mentioned that blog post earlier that I will share a link to. So I wrote a blog post. There are all these checks that I mentioned, but also a couple of more. And you can find it from tinyurl.com/developers-checklist. And you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Panula, so at EEVISPANULA. And my website is in eevis.code, so eevis.codes. And if you add /blog after that, you can find my blog as well. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was an awesome session. It's the amount of information that's just gone into my head is amazing, and some of it was just so eye-opening. It's Denny wrote in the comments, he loved the example with the grayscale, and I'm totally with it. It confused me to the point where you had the color, you showed the grayscale. I had just seen the color and I still read it wrong. And it's amazing. Yeah, the impact that has. And I just really wish that people would take this more seriously when they're designing software. I've had numerous discussions with designers like, yeah, but this looks really cool. And it's like, yeah, but you can only use it with the mouse. It makes it so hard. And we're developers. We like keyboard shortcuts. Even for ourselves, we should be doing this. And so even if you're just being selfish, but come on, let's make our stuff accessible. It's absolutely amazing talk. I'm mind blown. Thank you.